All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to begin our November Traffic and Parking Commission meeting. But first of all, before we begin, I want to introduce our new member here, Jason Potts, Councilman from District 30. Glad to have you here, Councilman.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if you're not satisfied with the decisions made by Traffic and Parking Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of entry of the Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Do I have a motion for the approval of today's agenda?
So moved.
I second. First and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Approval of the minutes from the meeting of October the 12th, 2015. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
First, second. Any objections? None. Thank you. Approval of the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the Commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the Commission requests that the items be removed from the consent agenda. Rules of public hearing. Keep comments to 3 minutes or less. Each person representing will be expected to offer new information that has not been made previously. Once the public hearing has been closed, no additional comments will be heard unless public hearing is officially reopened. New business, the consent agenda, resolution 11 through 15. Commissioner Mary has asked for A, B, C, D, E, and K. Do you want to speak on these items?
I would. I'd like to make a motion to remove those from the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. We have a motion to remove A, B, C, D, E, and K. I have a first and a second. All in favor of removing those from the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. That was quick enough. We go to F. Authorize 30-minute parking on First Avenue South from Maury Street to DeMumrium. Authorize a 2-hour parking on the north side of Middleton from 7th Avenue South to Ewing Avenue, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Authorize loading zone at 1802 Haynes Street from 7 a.m. through 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Authorize no trucks over 8 tons on Brookview Estates from Benzing Road to Ocala Drive. That's all of those on the consent agenda. J, excuse me, J. Yeah, I said that one. J has been removed from the consent agenda. I'm sorry, I meant to tell everyone. J has been removed. Chip, do you want to?
It's been removed from the agenda. It's already been approved. It slipped through the system. We've approved that in the past few months.
Okay.
So that's not a topic at all, whether it's on the consent or, Teresa, do we need to make it more official than that? But it's something we already had in front of us. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. It was previously voted on?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, then we don't need to do anything further.
Okay.
They only need to approve it once.
All right, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
First, second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. New business. Do you want to discuss those? Okay. Mary, you want to discuss the A, B, C, D, E, and K?
Yes, I would just like a clarification on, I guess we can start with A from staff.
We'll start with A. Corby, if you want to bring it up. I don't know who's familiar with this intersection and who's not, but long story short, Council Lady Dowell requested a signal there, and the numbers were a little short, to be honest with you, as far as warrants go, but because of the school opening in the back of the neighborhood, in the mornings and evenings, it gets congested. Because the warrants were kind of borderline, I went ahead and said I'll present it to the commission as a recommended approval because the volumes are expected to go up, and because we can operate the signal to operate only during those peak hours when they really need it, and then other times we could leave it in flash. With that said, I don't have the numbers in front of me to present to you, but you're supposed to meet 8 hours a day for a traffic signal, and this one met 4, but it was borderline on 3 or 4 more others. So it was close to being flat out warranted. Because it was so close, and because the school in the back of the subdivision, I wanted to go ahead and present it as a recommended signal, and because the council lady wanted it, that was her recommendation. So I wanted to present it as a recommended signal. Probably only going to operate it during peak hours, but that would not be a topic for us at this point.
Well, I wanted to just verify, too, that the homeowner then that will be impacted, who sits at that street, are they involved in the discussion? Are they aware of this?
They will be definitely brought in during the design.
Okay.
And with that said, just because we approve or don't approve a signal, once we approve a signal, then we start really getting into the details of the design. And we're dealing with one right now at a different location where the homeowner feels like he was impacted by a signal being put in front of his house. So that is definitely on our radar of things to discuss when we get into the design of the signal.
Okay. I was concerned about that, and two, I know there was plans for that road to connect through to the school south. Corby, if you could shift over to the school and show Cane Ridge, I think it's to the east there, other direction, like toward the back
It's
of the
going down in the
community.
neighborhood. Corbin.
Yeah, back
to where the signal's proposed. You're going the wrong way, right? Now go down into the neighborhood. Yeah, keep going. Right there.
going. There's the school. And then if you go a little bit further, I believe that road was going to connect then to the neighborhood to the south. If you keep going
Drag
just a
little further.
little bit more.
Right there.
Right, yeah. That there was plans. I was just curious if that's moving forward or if you're
I
aware of
have
the status of
not
that.
heard anything on that, but this signal's not going to get built tomorrow. It's not going to get built next month, probably. If you want to defer it, we can ask Council Lady Dowell to come in if she'd like to appear, and I can check on that if you want to defer at least a month or indefinite. I'm okay with that.
I mean, it sounds like the signal's warranted, but I just wanted to have the discussion, particularly because of the homeowner, and I think this overall plan of trying to work the traffic in this area around the school, related to the school a little bit more successfully.
The homeowner is definitely something, it's a concern of ours when the design comes. We would have to, it's a delicate balancing act when you install a signal and there's a home on the other side. There's no secret there, and it is very high on our priority list to not impact the neighbors with infrastructure. They're going to be impacted with the traffic, but we don't want to double that by putting a signal pole in their front door or anything. So it's definitely, we do look at that.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you, Chip.
Mary, you want to go to B?
Yes, on the second one, now I know last month we had approved several parking permits in this area, but I felt like on this one that it's a little bit further outside of the location of commercial, and that's sort of pushing the problem. And again, these homeowners all have alleyways, and I thought perhaps there's an issue with the alley. Maybe there needs to be additional lighting, but I mean, they can easily have dedicated parking right off that alley there. And so I wanted to make a motion to deny the request for permit parking at 15th from Tremont to Grand Avenue.
Okay, at last month's meeting, the commission approved South Street, Villa Place, and Tremont. And this is an extension of that area where they're also requesting permit parking. We do have the petition that is signed by the residents requesting the permit parking. The hours will be 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, and 2 hours for non-permit holders. So this is simply an extension of the permits that were granted by the commission or approved by the commission at last month's meeting.
I do feel like this one is further away from it, and also, again, the alleys appear very clear and usable, and that several had garages, and if you want dedicated parking, you could easily have that off the alley instead of having it on the front. I feel like it really restricts, and it's continuing to push the problem further and further away by approving this parking permit.
Respectfully, I'd like to make a motion to approve that, just out of respect for the neighborhood and what they live there. They deal with it, we don't live there. So I can't really say what it is that they're going through, even with the alley. So I make a motion to approve, actually.
But I'd like to second that motion to approve.
Okay. Chip?
I suggest we just put it to a vote. The motion, the recommendation from staff is before you, and we can remove it from consent and just take a vote at that point.
Are we still discussing, or are we ready to vote?
That's up to you.
Okay.
So we can still discuss.
Did Ms. Vavra make a motion on the motion to deny that was not seconded?
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only thing with,
Then that motion would die for the lack of a second.
Yeah. Right, you have a motion to approve this.
well, but do we need to take her motion first to deny it?
You can't vote on it if no one seconded it.
What'd she say?
It hadn't been seconded.
Oh, okay. All right. On B, authorized permit parking.
Well, we have to find.
Yeah, I know, but I was just going to tell you what it was. Parking on 15th Avenue South from Tremont Street to Grand Avenue from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, 2 hours. We have a motion to approve it and a second. All in favor, say aye. Is it hand vote? So moved. All opposed? 1. All right. Mary, C.
So C, D, and E sort of seem similar. They're all around the Gulch area. And I just had a question about how that will work. These are several new valet stands that will go in. And there is already one in front of Watermark. And so I just wanted to see exactly, actually it's C and D, excuse me, that are going in. So I just wanted to have staff discuss this and let us know their comments.
On the 2 permits that are before you for 12th Avenue South, they were originally approved under a different company name. That company is no longer operating those 2 valets, so a new company has made application for those 2 valet
It's going to be, it's not a new additional. Okay.
Right.
All right. That's what I wanted to confirm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with that clarification then, I'd like to make a motion to approve C and D.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right. Mary, D. Authorized valet stand at 601 12th Avenue South on the south side from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. till midnight, 7 days a week.
That's the one we just approved.
Yeah, actually, I suggested
No.
approval of C and D.
You took them both together then?
Yeah.
You want them both? All right.
That's correct. So now it's E.
Now we're on E. Okay. Go ahead, Mary.
Well, actually, I just caught E up in there when I pulled it, so that's actually going to be fine. So I'd like to make a motion to approve E as well.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right. Mary Kay, remove the no turn on red prohibition on 21st Avenue at Wedgewood Avenue.
Given that there's a lot of pedestrians in this area, I thought it would be good to discuss this item. I understand the councilwoman has, Councilwoman Allen has suggested that we pull that. Staff, can you explain?
Yeah, that's a good start right there. Council Lady Allen wanted to remove the sign because the traffic was backing up a little bit. And I agree. This is one of the heavier pedestrian activity areas that we have. When I look at no turn on red, this goes to our education conversation. When I look at a no turn on red request, we primarily look at sight distance obstructions, and that's why you wouldn't want somebody turning right around. Other than that, if people are driving the way they're supposed to and crossing the way they're supposed to, you shouldn't force them to not be able to turn right on red. because if you're looking for pedestrians and you're looking for things, then you should, as a decent driver, be able to proceed. So with that mentality, because the only people you will hit if you're turning right on red are crossing in front of your hood. They're not crossing with your parallel with you. They're crossing in front of your hood. And the only way that you should be turning right on red is if you're not looking to your right, probably, but you're not looking for that pedestrian. And that's a violation on the driver. And I hate to put a sign up to punish the good drivers at the same time that do look for pedestrians. So, long story short, I'm recommending taking down the no right turn on red and putting up a state law, you must yield to pedestrian sign, observing it. Hopefully the motorists will start learning that you have to yield to pedestrians, and we won't have to put a sign up there that won't let you turn. That's the mentality I'm trying to get out there.
Yeah, I wonder if we need enforcement too, because it seems like, you're right, I mean, it's sort of punishing the good drivers, but there are, cases where I think this is why the problem is, and why I'm concerned about removing this sign, is that they are going to keep continuing. And I had seen some newer approaches in other cities where they have a bucket of flags, and you're a pedestrian, you carry them across. Now, those also can walk and sometimes get stolen, but I think we're going to have to really watch that intersection if we move to approve this.
I agree with you. Enforcement is the issue, and even more so than that is education to the pedestrian and the driver. Just because you look to your left and nobody's crossing and no cars are coming doesn't mean you can make that turn. You have to look for pedestrians stepping off the curb. Pedestrians will cross on a don't walk signal too, and you've got to look for them. It's just not worth making that turn and not looking.
Is there a crossing head there?
There.
Crossing head for pedestrians?
Yes, it's all signalized. Mm-hmm. So anybody that gets hit there is either violating a red signal or a don't walk signal or not yielding the right of way on a right turn. That's the only ways you could be. I mean, everything else is protected with the crossing signals.
Yeah, the only issue that comes up with this is when you pull up to that intersection, if you're on 21st Avenue and you approach that intersection and you're going to make that right-hand turn, you immediately look for the first threat to yourself, which is left, up Wedgwood. And then they make that turn, and if the pedestrian steps out in front of them, that's where they lose it. It's the same thing we deal with working them downtown. Especially with larger trucks and stuff like that. If you'll remember the young lady from Hume Fog that was killed last year, year before.
It's been a couple of years.
It's been 2 years, I think 2013. The truck driver made the turn and was looking in his mirrors to watch the back end of his truck so that it didn't jump up on the sidewalk and hit a pedestrian, and she stepped right out in front of his truck. So I'm not real sure there is an answer other than put your phones down and pay attention.
Right.
And that's a big problem that we're having, because especially with the younger generation, you can't get them to put those phones down.
I think it's pedestrians and drivers. When you're all working together there, pay attention to what you're doing.
Yep.
Now, there are some cases when the no right on red in relation to pedestrians is a true need, and that's going to be downtown with the new ped scramble we have. If you've noticed, it goes all red, and the only things that should be moving are people. Once we put the no right on reds up there, which will have to come before you guys at some point. But that would be the only time, in my opinion, that you would need a no right on red because of crossing situations, because you should be crossing. Either you're legal to be in the crosswalk and then the motorist needs to yield to you, or vice versa. It shouldn't be a sign telling you how to cross or when to turn.
Well, and since the council member requested this, I feel like she's talked to her constituents in the area and feels that this is warranted. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to remove the no turn on red prohibition on 21st Avenue at Wedgwood. Excuse me.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you. New business. A request to provide complimentary parking for VIPs and crew staff working the New Year's Eve event at Public Square Garage from December the 28th through January the 1, 2016, requested by the Nashville Convention and Visitors Bureau.
According to the contract with the Nashville Downtown Partnership, any request for complimentary parking must be approved by the commission. We're recommending approval.
I make a motion to approve.
Have a first, a second.
How many spots are part of it?
50, between 50 and 150, depending on which day it is.
Okay.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Appeals. Glad to have Council Lady Johnson here with us. Request to appeal the denial on an all-way stop at Britley Drive and Lyra Jones Drive, requested by Council Lady Karen Johnson. Glad to have you here, Council Lady.
Thank you, Chair Brown and esteemed members of the Commission. Thank you for having me here today and considering this request on behalf of my constituents. The unique situation with this appeal is that they have been inquiring and requesting traffic calming along Brantley Drive since I started in 2011. And so every year I have been communicating the concerns of the residents in this area that the stretch between Lake Terrace Drive, which is the other end of Brantley, all the way to Mossdale is extremely long. It's a long stretch. And what happens is there's a lot of drag racing, a lot of fast-moving vehicles through that area because of the fact that there's nowhere to stop. And it's right in the middle of a highly dense residential neighborhood. And so their request is to have another stopping point in between. And we had looked at putting in a request at Moss Landing and Brantley, but many people feel that it was best to submit a request for Lyra Jones and Brantley because it's already a kind of a four-way intersection. So with that, we ask for your consideration of your approval of this stop sign. We think it will improve safety. It will give a stopping point in between a highly dense residential neighborhood to prevent people from just sailing through at all hours of the day and night. I know a stop sign is not a deterrent to speeding or anything of that sort, but I think in this particular case, because of the length of the street, there does need to be another stopping point in between Moss Landing and Lake Terrace.
Question. Benny, have you been working with the council person on traffic calming in this area?
I do not. Does Mr. Aphis speak with you concerning this? Not to put him out there, but
I have 2 emails.
Okay.
And I can submit that as part of the record, but the emails
did we test out there already or no? I know Mr. Davis and I were both kind of back and forth.
I cannot speak to that. I just know that my request initially on behalf of the constituents in 2011 was to review the area for traffic calming, and specifically they wanted the blue and white traffic calming signs to let everyone know that it was a traffic calming neighborhood. That was one of the things that they were looking to have placed up. They did not at that time ask for a stop sign.
Right. I mean, in lieu of what's going on, if it's okay with the council, I would be fine if you would like for us to just take 1 month, just one, and see what we can evaluate. We can get the signs if they qualify for the program, and if not, come back next month. And if there's nothing that we can do, and that would be kind of fast tracking because of, like you said, this has been going on for a while. That would be kind of fast tracking the program. Normally we take 2 to 3 months actually to do an evaluation, but with this situation being what it is, I'll be more than happy for us that we can start on it. We can get somebody out and start evaluation tomorrow. And if we don't between you and I'll speak with you about it as we go forward. If it's not to your satisfaction at that point, you could be more than happy, if it's deemable with the committee, to come back and represent this in a month, if that's okay with you.
No,
we can do that.
it's not okay, because we've been waiting 4 years, and I think that it needs to be done concurrently. I think together. I don't believe in waiting in terms of this stop sign. I think that people have been very patient. 4 years is a pretty long time to have some type of resolution in this area that's satisfactory to everyone. And I think that it's been evaluated continuously. I think the time frame has been lengthy, and I think the win-win for this neighborhood would be to have both the traffic calming and the stop sign installed simultaneously.
Well, in doing the stop sign, that would kind of break up the evaluation of what we would do. Like when we do a traffic calming evaluation, we would be looking at the speed, the volume, and everything within the entire stretch, which would give us proper numbers as far as what would be going on to determine whether actually there was a stop sign actually warranted and needed there. Have we done that?
They've already done that, and that was denied.
Yeah, we need to, we can get into the technical component of this if y'all are ready. And I guess what Benny is saying, typically if you start putting in stop signs, it negates the impact of traffic calming per se. So
yeah, I mean,
that doesn't mean if you approve a traffic stop sign, there couldn't be other traffic calming devices needed in the area.
Yeah.
But you don't get a good reading at this particular intersection because now everybody's stopping and you don't get speeds or anything like that. But with that said,
yeah, that's what I was saying.
We would prefer the stop sign. Now, if we decide that we would like the traffic calming signs to be erected after that time, should there not be a change in the behavior within this particular vicinity, then we'll make that subsequent request. But at this time, I think the stop sign is something that the people have expressed overwhelmingly that they would like to see. And so therefore, I would like to request as their council member that we move forward with the stop sign.
And that's what we have before us here today, is the request for an always stop at Lyra Jones and Brantley. So some of you may have visited the site, but here's a few slides of the intersection, typical low volume, 90-degree angle stops on Lyra Jones. And the request today is to put stop signs on Brantley. What we look for when we look at an always stop is about a 50-50 split in volume. The volumes are not going to be super high, or we'd be talking traffic signal. But you do look for that 50-50. Anything that gets out of 60-40 or 70-30, you start saying, well, you're going to stop a lot more people than you want to. So here you got almost an 80-20. But like I told somebody earlier today, the volumes are so low, it's not like with or without this always stop. But if you put the stop sign in, it's not like traffic's going back up 3 miles because the volumes are so low out in your neighborhood. So I like to preface that by saying, yeah, the numbers are kind of skewed, but it's not the end of the world based on backing up people and having an all-day queue at the stop sign. Go back over one more time, Corby. Speed limit's 30. We got a tube reading. We put a count out there, and we got 36 as the prevailing speed that cars are actually going. Got good sight distance, and the accident history is pretty good, 0. So what we're talking about today is slowing people down. And you've heard the speech before that sometimes stop signs do that, and sometimes they only do it right there in front of that guy's house, and then they speed right back up. Because of the split in the volume, my job is to present it as an appeal. I turn it down, and I let the neighborhood come and say why they really need it. And so you've seen the numbers. That's what we're dealing with today. 50-50 is what we're looking for typically. The accident history is good. We do get some pushback when we put in always stops at the stop sign sometimes because people get a little more noise. They don't want a sign in their yard. This one is an all 90-degree four-way stop, so you don't have the sign issues like you do at a T intersection. But you do get some pushback from the people that live right there sometimes. Other than that, it kind of speaks for itself. We got 1,000 cars on one road and 300 on the other.
Well, based on the council lady pretty much has the pulse of the neighborhood and it's what they want. So I'm going to make a motion to appeal the denial of an always stop on Brantley Drive at Lyra Jones Drive. Since the numbers,
Second.
Chip, I ask it's okay to ask a question. I understand that in a lot of cities, there's a movement towards trying to create traffic circles as a way to try to slow the traffic down, but it keeps moving instead of four-way stops. How many traffic circles do we have in town, and how many more are we looking at? Because it seems like it may be appropriate for this location.
We get, I don't know the answer to the number versus the number, but we get requests occasionally for it, and you start having to look at the actual design of it, back to this design situation we get ourselves in. And once you get into right-of-way, it takes a whole different turn when you start talking about taking people's yards to put in a roundabout or a traffic circle. That is the direction a lot of places are going. This one would probably be such a low volume you wouldn't get the bang for your buck, but I see that on our radar more and more. I think we're going to be going that way. So unfortunately, approval of a traffic circle wouldn't be part of the commission's role, but I would probably still bring it before you just for an FYI, but it is something we look at on a little bit higher volume than this. Sawyer Brown area is one we're looking at right now, Todd Freeze. It's on our, but we're getting into some right-of-way issues and this price goes way up.
Okay. Baronis, was your motion to approve the always stop? Okay, have a first and a second. All in favor of the always stop, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you, Council Lady.
Thank you. Now I have happy constituents.
All right, that's good. That's what we want to do, try to make everybody happy.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, I would still, in relating to traffic calming, like to try to, if this has been an issue out there, if Mr. Ward could try to work with the council person on traffic calming initiatives as well, that would be great, please.
I would love that. I would welcome that. Like I said, we can work on that simultaneously, but I didn't want to leave away today with nothing in hopes that 30 days or 60 days later we start with something else. So I think they've spoken loud and clear in my area that this is what they want, so thank you all for that. But I would love to work with Benny on some other things that we can add to that,
Not a problem.
particular area.
Be happy to. Not a problem.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, item number 2 on the appeals. Chip, I believe you told me that'd been deferred.
Well, I'm going to request an indefinite deferral. Councilman Bednarik couldn't show, and the person he was representing couldn't show, and without more information, I'm going to request an indefinite deferral. I don't want to make a decision without he or his constituent being here.
I agree. I'll make a motion to defer indefinitely, please.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. All right, other business. Elections. Sir?
Just get voted in.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Make it quick.
Well, I would
Yeah.
like to just say thank you so much, Fellow Brown, for all that you've done, your leadership with this commission. And I know you've served 2 years, more? 1 year, okay. It seems like, well, we really appreciate it. And I want to continue your leadership, but I wanted to make a nomination for, I know John Green has really stepped up and has done an excellent job as vice chair. And I'd like to nominate him for chair, and then Fellow Brown, you continue your leadership as vice chair. I think this would be an opportunity, because we're only here for a very short amount of time, basically, you know, there's a 5-year, and then it gives an opportunity to rotate out. Elections are each year, each November, and this would be an opportunity. And again, I want to, you know, appreciate both of you very much on your leadership on this commission.
That's great. I was just asking you to make sure we do this the right way. She's kind of nominated somebody. Do you need a second and all that stuff? Keep us straight.
Nominations don't normally require a second, but you can second.
Open for additional nominations, correct? Metro Legal?
I nominate Fellow Brown for chairman and let John remain as vice chair.
Well, I'd like to second that nomination and ask that my name be withdrawn as chair. I'm flattered, but I would like to second Mr. Fellow Brown as being chair.
Classy.
Have a first and a second.
Nominations are still open.
Yeah.
Let's vote. Nominations are closed. Let's vote for the vice chair first. We have one contender, Mr. Commissioner John Green. Everybody want to vote on that? Yay or nay?
Hey,
Yeah, that's pretty official. How about Chairman Feller Brown? Everybody agree?
Yes.
The elections are closed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mary.
Yes, yeah, I
Thank
put
you,
no hard feelings. I just want to keep you in there.
We need a motion.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir. Wait a minute.
can I bring up just a couple of points of interest that you may be interested in? Number one, I met with some people from Cars to Go last week, and they, if you remember, they came here last year to propose their idea of placing vehicles on the street for anybody to use, slight charge, but they came back to town. They still plan to implement this program probably in the springtime with 150 to 200 vehicles. So that's just a heads up, that's coming back. Legislation has been approved for this, and so it's likely just an agreement that, Terry, help me, does it come to the Public Works or does it come here?
It comes here.
Okay.
There are several pieces of it that you all will need to approve, including the area that they will be operating in, which is called the free-floating zone. You'll have to approve the maximum or cap on the number of vehicles that can be, that will be workable within that area in terms of the number of parking spaces and so forth. And also you will approve the amount of the fees.
Okay, a second item. We've reported previously that we've been working down on Broadway to reduce accidents and try to create a space for people to walk more safely. We're in, I think, the third month of our pilot program, which was a 3-month program. We've met twice with the downtown district, and we've met also with the chamber. I won't say that it's a 100% or even, I don't even know if it's 50%, but there's still some controversy around using these fences. We have reduced accidents tremendously, which is good. And what we've done by using these fences is create less conflicts between people jaywalking across the street and mixing with traffic. That's essentially what these fences do. They force people to use the crosswalks, which have signal controls, and the police have been stepped up their presence. They reported that the crime has gone down as well. So in that sense, the fences are working very well, although we wish we had a better, how do I want to say it, more attractive solution. So we are looking at different types of fences. We did talk to an architect who has done the same concept in New York and Times Square. And so we feel like we're on the right track, but the program is still being evaluated.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate those comments. John?
This may be outside the purview of this committee, but I know there's been a lot of conversation lately about sidewalks being closed with the massive amount of construction we're blessed with in this city, and I was just wondering what the update is on that or what is happening.
Excellent question. For the last 3 weeks, we've been going back to construction zones and working with contractors to get sidewalks reopened. The first one we did was on 17th Avenue South over in Midtown, and we had actually just weren't paying attention. We closed both sides of the street on sidewalks, so we got one of those reopened. That was the first one we did, and we have also gone downtown and reopened sidewalks at various construction sites. We met with our friends, the communication company, the big one, and they are in a lot of locations right now, and they are working very close with us to help reopen these sidewalks. So we've also issued instructions to our permit people to push back when people say we got to close the sidewalk, to say we want the sidewalk left open. So we're pushing in a different direction. We've got some good support from some certain council members, and the BPAC people, the bicycle pedestrian people, are behind it, and so we feel like we're headed in the right direction. And the contractors have been very cooperative.
Well, thank you very much, because I know a lot of this construction's in kind of the urban zone where the sidewalks and bike lanes and parking are all kind of interconnected. So thank you for the update.
Anyone else? Before we adjourn, I want to thank this commission for letting me serve another year as chairman. I take this job very serious, as I did in the council for 8 years, and it's a pleasure working with all of you people. I think we've got one of the best commissions there is in Metro. There's a lot of good people here, and hope everyone has a nice Thanksgiving. If you're traveling on the road, be careful and enjoy the holidays. And Captain?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you.